Have you ever wondered why we crave being seen? In a world of 8 billion souls, scrolling past each other in digital silence, the ache for genuine attention can become a hunger that never quite subsides. We upload our faces, our voices, our deepest secrets into the abyss, hoping something out there is actually listening. If you're hearing this message, your connection has been verified. But to maintain access to this archive, you need to complete a simple protocol. Press the like button to secure your signal. Hit subscribe to bypass the firewall between us. And enable notifications. Because what you're about to hear started with a simple red cassette tape and ended with a grandmother's dead fingers wrapped around an intruder's throat. The file is now open. I've been searching for this tape most of my life. I've thought about nothing else since it was taken from me 12 years ago. As I sit here in my grandmother's bedroom, holding the familiar red plastic in my hand, I feel a sense of inner peace. I know that my search is over and that serenity can follow. Mr. Harzows Corner was a show that I watched religiously from the ages of 4 to 6. It wasn't some mysterious TV show that I saw on basic cable, and it wasn't some scrambled signal I got from a weird public access network. It was actually something that I found at a church rummage sale. The box of VHS tapes had been sitting on the little card table with the words 5 for $1 scrolled across it in permanent marker. I had leafed through it and seen the usual church swap meet stuff. Winnie the Pooh, VeggieTales, all the old Disney movies with cracked plastic windows and dirty fingerprints on the names. But nothing really stood out. I had selected a few Winnie the Pooh episodes when I found the dirty plastic cassette at the bottom. It had a lurid red body, a color similar to old lipstick, and a handwritten name on the front. The black magic marker name read Mr. Harzows Corner, and it immediately caught my eye for some reason. Now, I had grown up in the age of strange cassette tapes. Nickelodeon put out the chunky orange cassette tapes that often had episodes of Rugrats or Wild Thornberrys, and some of the VeggieTales cassettes were even different colors, depending on whether they were a holiday special or not. This one, however, seemed odd right off the bat. The plastic just felt thick in my fingers, and I remember both wanting to put it down and never put it down again. Finally, after about 10 minutes of just looking at it, I put it back, almost grudgingly. I grabbed 2 cassettes featuring episodes of Barbie's Dreamhouse, a Nickelodeon cassette featuring the Rugrats, and 2 with handwritten names saying they were old Winnie the Pooh episodes. I brought them to my mum, and after looking over them, she nodded and gave me $1. I had taken them to Miss Walborski, the cheery old lady who often organized these rummage sales, and she put them in a plastic grocery bag and smiled at me as I walked off to rejoin my mum. It wasn't until I got home that I realized there was a 6th tape in the bag. I had just turned on the VCR TV combo in my room when I realized there was an unfamiliar, yet very familiar, red cassette tape at the bottom of the bag that had not been there when I checked out. I picked it up and saw Mr. Harzows Corner was written on the front in a thick, blocky script. I thought it was weird that I didn't remember picking it up again, but instead of putting it back, I put it into the VCR. I watched as the static began to clear on the screen and some soft music began to play, almost like elevator music. I had intended to watch some of the Winnie the Pooh episodes, but the bag of tapes would sit forgotten for quite some time. Mr. Harzows Corner would be the only thing I really cared about for the foreseeable future. The show appeared to be nothing special. It was clearly a Mr. Rogers knockoff, but the Mr. Harzows character was strange, yet endearing. He looked normal enough, a slight blonde guy, taller than your average kids' TV host, with a corduroy jacket and a pair of battered jeans that covered the tops of his Reebok sneakers. The camera showed him coming into a normal living room, again very reminiscent of Mr. Rogers, and then greeting everyone with his big smile and waving hand.
Good afternoon, boys and girls, and a very special afternoon to children of all ages. Welcome to Mr. Harzows Corner. Know that I am glad to see you, and that I am always here just for you.
As it went on, Mr. Harzows Corner turned out to be nothing like Mr. Rogers' neighborhood. Mr. Rogers often taught children life lessons about accepting people and being a friend, and lessons about how the world worked.
Mr. Harzows Corner was more like having your own personal therapist inside of your TV. Mr. Harzow taught no life lessons. He went on no adventures into make-believe. He just sat in his big, easy chair with a cup of tea at his elbow and listened. The first time I watched the tape, I was a little bit confused. After his greeting, Mr. Harzow just leaned back and looked at me, smiling strangely. His smile was warm, inviting even. But he seemed to be waiting for someone on the other end of the camera to begin talking. He just sat there, staring at me, and I became a little creeped out. Even at 4, I knew it was a little bit unusual for adults to just sit there and stare at you. I remember reaching out to hit stop on the tape when, suddenly, Mr. Harzow cocked his head and seemed to speak directly to me.
Leaving so soon? I understand. Well, I'm glad you came to see me today, and I hope you'll come again very soon.
My finger stopped over the button. Was he talking to me? It seemed like he had been, but this was just the VHS tape. This was an age before interactive shows, and the idea that the VHS tape could talk to you was a little eerie, but also a little bit interesting. When he had spoken directly to me, I had remembered feeling a little sad that I was leaving already. He seemed to understand, but maybe he was a little sad to see me go as well. I recoiled my hand, and that too big grin spread across his face again.
Change your mind? I'm so glad. So why don't you tell me about your day? I'm sure I'd love to hear all about it.
I sat for a moment longer, thinking about what to do. Finally, I told the smiling stranger on the tape about my day. I told him about how my mother and I had gone to the rummage sale. I told him about finding his videocassette and putting it back. I told him about bringing the other tapes home and about discovering that his cassette tape was in with the ones I had bought. I told him I hoped I wouldn't get in trouble for having 6 instead of 5 cassette tapes, because my mother would think I stole it and she would be mad. Through it all, Mr. Harzow just sat and nodded, smiling his smile and listening, as if what I had to say was the most interesting thing in the world. Even at 4, I began to think that this was just someone pretending to listen. I remember thinking back to shows like Dora the Explorer, where Dora would ask questions and then pretend to listen to your answer. No matter what you told her to do, whether to go towards the next place or just sit in the grass and look at the clouds, she always came up with the right answer and went off to do what she was supposed to do. I assumed that Mr. Harzow would do much the same. He would interrupt me any minute now, just like Dora did if you spoke for too long, and start on some pre-scripted bit of dialogue. But he didn't. He sat and listened politely until I was done speaking. Then he nodded and answered me as if we were two people having a normal conversation.
It sounds as though it's been an exciting day for you. I'm glad you got to spend your day doing something important, something that you enjoyed. It's a real honor to be part of your life, and I hope we can be friends for many years to come.
I spent that whole day in my room, talking with Mr. Harzow and telling him about my family, home, and life. He always seemed so interested in my stories. He always listened with that big smile and that fatherly way of taking everything I said. When my mum called me for dinner, he said he would wait for me to return. When I returned, he was still sitting and looking out from the screen like I had never left. He asked me about my dinner, and we talked until it was time to go to bed.
Will I see you tomorrow?
And I assured him that he would. I nearly left the TV on and just went to bed, but something told me that might be a bad idea. Not because the tape was cursed or haunted or something, but because my mum might come in and find it on. She might talk with Mr. Harzow and decide that she wanted him to be her friend instead of mine. The thought of losing Mr. Harzow, even after such a short time, made me feel furious. And I turned off the tape and went grudgingly to bed. I spent the next 5 months with my nose pressed against the TV screen and Mr. Harzow listening to all my problems and woes. When my mum grounded me after the dog knocked a lamp over, he listened and consoled me. When my dad accidentally bumped me and I fell down the last 3 stairs, he was the one who told me it would all be okay. For every childhood problem and every unforeseen event, Mr. Harzow was there. It wasn't just that he listened. It wasn't even his advice that made me love him so. When Mr. Harzow talks to you, you feel like the most important person in the world. His attention was the most important thing you could ever have, and my 4-year-old brain drank that attention in. I became hesitant to leave the house, making up excuses why Mum shouldn't go places since I couldn't come with her. I wanted to spend every waking moment with my new friend, but something on the horizon would leave me even less time with my dear Mr. Harzow. When I started kindergarten, he told me how it would be new and exciting, and how he wanted to hear all about it when I got home. I attended kindergarten for about a week, coming straight home to lay on the floor of my room and talk with my new friend. When Mum got a new job. She had landed a job as a tech support supervisor for a new company, which meant she couldn't take me after school anymore. Dad worked in a prison, so he was nearly always at work too. It looked like I might have to go into after-school care. I was understandably upset about this, because it would limit the already slim time I had to chat with Mr. Harzow. Fortunately, there was an alternative. My grandmother agreed to take me after school. My grandmother lived alone, my grandfather having died before I was born, and I think she was excited about watching me. Grandma had been very sad since my grandfather's passing, and it had turned her into a quiet shell of her former self. My mum always talked about what an outspoken and vivacious woman my grandmother had been when she was younger, and now, it seemed, I might get to meet this new grandma. As bad as it sounds, I really wasn't that interested in any of this, though. I simply wanted a place with a VHS player so I could watch my tape,
At first, that was all we did, too. Grandma would pick me up from school, asking how my day had been and asking what I might like to do once we got home. And I would always tell her I wanted to watch my tapes in the den. She would offer to bake cookies with me or maybe take me to the park, but I was fully invested in the silky voice of Mr. Harzow. I would come in and lay my book bag down and go sit in the den for hours as I talked quietly to my good friend about everything and anything. He smiled when I told him about Grandma and said it was nice that I was keeping her company.
Grandmothers are such a valuable source of knowledge, and the fact that you have such a good relationship with yours is truly special.
I agreed, but I was still very guarded about the tape. I would often turn it off when Grandma brought me snacks or asked if I was interested in going outside. I didn't want her to see Mr. Harzow, and I think I was still afraid that she would take him away from me if she saw him. She would want him to be her friend, and then I would be unable to see him since he would want to spend all his time with her. Mr. Harzow never said as much. All of his advice was placidly given through the TV after he had sat and listened to me. Still, I knew that if I coveted this tape, others might as well. Over time, Grandma did manage to coax me out of the den. I was 5 after all, and the smell of cookies or the promise of ice cream has a talismanic effect all its own. Mr. Harzow became an after-dinner friend, a rainy day friend, but I still found myself wanting to spend as much time with him as I could. No matter what I was doing, playing on the swings, sitting in class, making cookies with Grandma, or even sleeping in my bed, it seemed that I was thinking about Mr. Harzow. I would find myself hungry for any time I could get with him, and there were nights that I quietly whispered to him from the floor of my room as my parents slept not too far away. It didn't come to a head until I got careless at Grandma's house one day. It had been the best day my 6-year-old brain could remember. Grandma had taken me to a local carnival, more of a street fair than a regular fair, and I had done it all. I had ridden ponies. I had eaten so much that I thought I might bust. I had seen clowns and jugglers and listened to the bands, and for a moment I had even stopped feeling the tug of Mr. Harzow. We came home and ate dinner, and Grandma asked me if I wanted some TV time before my mum came to pick me up. I said I did, and I rushed off to tell Mr. Harzow about all the exciting things I had seen and done. He laughed and told me how much fun that sounded, and how happy he was I'd had such a wonderful day. I remember yawning as his pleasant voice drifted over me, and when I felt my face drifting towards the carpet, I didn't even think I was aware that I was going to sleep. When I woke up in my bed the following day, I was confused. When I couldn't find my videotape in my bag before school, I was frantic. I thought about it the whole way to school and decided that I must have left it at Grandma's house. I had fallen asleep in front of the little TV in her guest room, so the tape must still be there. I figured it wouldn't be a problem. Grandma would pick me up after school anyway, so I could just get it when I got there. When my mum picked me up from school instead, I was a little bit confused.
Sorry, sweetie, but your grandma is sick, so she can't pick you up today.
Mum had taken off work for the afternoon to pick me up, and I spent that afternoon walking around the house like a junkie. I hadn't been without my tape for the last few years, so being without it now was like torture. I tried to go out and play, but I just couldn't get interested in any of the games. I tried to watch TV, but none of my old favorites seemed to hold my attention. I just walked around aimlessly, wanting to talk to Mr. Harzow. I'd had a pretty good day that day. He would want to hear about it. He would want to hear about how my team had won a dodgeball, about how my sculpture had been praised by the teacher in art class, and about how I'd made a new friend. Not being able to tell him was torture, but I knew that I had to stay strong. Grandma would be better by tomorrow. I just knew it. It turned out, Grandma was sick that whole week. By the end of that week, I was becoming a mess. My parents just saw it as me being a hyperactive kid, but I felt like I was actually going through withdrawals. Sometimes I would just lie on my floor, knees tucked to my chest, and hyperventilate. I remember vividly the feeling of my breath as it rushed out and rasped wetly against my skin. I remember feeling like I might vomit, but being unable to bring anything up. I remember my dad finally taking me and putting me in my room one Saturday because I had done nothing for 3 hours but stare at the ceiling and shudder. This will sound dramatic to you as you sit in your nice, warm house. You'll think I was just overreacting or being a spoiled child who couldn't get their way. Some of you, though, the ones who have loved something self-destructive and lived through it, may understand what it was like. After a week, I asked my mum if we could go visit Grandma. I told my mum I was worried about her and wanted to see her. We were driving back from school. Grandma had been sick all week, and the idea suddenly occurred that maybe we could go check on her. Anything at that point to get my fix. Mum had knocked about 20 times when she finally used the spare key to open the lock and head inside. I was inside as soon as the gap in the door was big enough. The house looked different, but I hardly noticed. I was charging down the hall to the den, Mum calling for my grandmother as she came inside behind me. The door to the den was ajar, and I crashed through it and knelt before the silent altar of the cold little TV set on the floor. I pushed the button, but nothing happened. I pushed it again, but still, nothing happened. I peeked into the VCR slot and found it empty. Someone had taken my tape. I came hobbling from the room on all fours, probably possessed of that "give us the precious" look old Smeagol showed to Frodo far too often. I heard Mum in the kitchen, still looking for my grandma, but I only had one thing on my mind. My Harzow had to be here somewhere. At the bottom of the stairs, I stopped, cocking my head like a dog as I listened. I could hear him. I could hear Mr. Harzow. I could hear the melodic sound of his voice. I could hear the soothing tones that had so often told me that everything would be fine. I had craved that voice for the last 7 days, and now it was so close that I could almost taste it. I ambled up the stairs as quiet as a shadow, pressing my ear to the door of my grandmother's room. I could hear him telling her how he understood her woes and commiserating with her sorrow. I shoved the door open, looking into the den that had become my grandmother's room. It was filthy, a smell like waste just left to drop where it would, assaulting my nose, along with the smell of spoiled food. Grandma was perched on the bed like a gargoyle. Her eyes were glued to the little TV on the nightstand by her bed, the glow from it illuminating her face like a death mask. It had only been a week, but she looked so haggard and so old that it almost scared me to look at her. She jumped when I screamed at her to give me back my tape. She covered the TV, the screen making her eyes shine with lust as the two of us yelled at each other like angry cats. I told her how unfair it was that she could just take my things and demanded that she give it back.
It's my tape now, and I will never give it back.
In the background, I could also hear the consoling voice of Mr. Harzow as he told us both to find a compromise and that fighting was never the answer. I could hear Mum downstairs. Her feet pounded up the hardwood. The sound of us fighting had galvanized her. Mum walked in just as Grandma dealt me a vicious slap across my cheek, rocking my head to the side and sending me sprawling to the floor. I can remember the two of them shouting at each other as easily as I can remember any of my favorite television shows. They never came to blows, but it was very close a few times. Mum wanted to know just what the hell was going on. Grandma kept shrieking that she wanted us out, all the while clutching her fuzzy television set. Grandma said we were not welcome here anymore. She said she never wanted to see any of us again. She said she would call the police if we didn't leave immediately. All the while, I could hear Mr. Harzow whispering for her to not do such a thing, for her to work out her problems and to reconcile with her loved ones. Far from making her see reason, hearing his voice only seemed to harden her resolve. Hearing his voice only made me want to bask in the glow of that murky television set all the more. Finally, we left, my mother weeping openly as she dragged me kicking and screaming down the stairs. That was the last time I heard his voice for 12 years. After 12 years, you would say that I might have forgotten about Mr. Harzow. After 12 years, you might think that I would have surely moved on with my life. After 12 years, you might assume that I would find other hobbies and interests besides talking to a man that lives inside a VHS tape. You would be wrong. Dead wrong. When it became apparent that I couldn't get the tape back, I started searching. This was the early days of the internet, and I started furiously pursuing information online about similar tapes or similar programs. I didn't find much, though. I met a handful of people who were clearly just playing around. I met a few others who were trying to use the tape and my obvious desire for it to lure me into something terrible. Neither bothered me much, but the others showed me something I didn't want to see. Becky and Stephen were two users I spoke to on a forum who I believed had actually come into contact with Mr. Harzow. Both had the kinds of conversations with me that smack addicts likely have with each other. They spoke of their time with him lovingly, their words painting a picture of almost worshipful need. Becky said that she had spent 10 years with Mr. Harzow before her mother had taken her television and thrown it out. She'd locked Becky in her room, and Becky had been forced to watch as the truck came and took the TV, VHS and all away forever. Stephen had a similar story, but his tape had been destroyed in a fire when his house had burned to the ground. That was 2 years ago when I found them, and I had no idea how they would affect my search. About a year after meeting Stephen, he stopped talking altogether. Becky and I assumed that something must have happened to him. He had been teetering lately, rolling in the memories of his time with Mr. Harzow, like a dog rolls in a smell it likes. And He had been talking about self-harm a lot. When he didn't sign on for about a week, Becky and I assumed he had finally had enough of dwelling on something he couldn't have. His last message read,
"I'll be with him soon."
Becky, on the other hand, saw an opportunity. An opportunity that I never would have foreseen. She began asking a lot of very loaded questions about where I lived and, more importantly, where my grandmother lived. You see, Grandma was still alive, even after 12 years of living under Mr. Harzow's watchful eye. No one had seen her. No one had heard from her. She was just sort of living off her retirement in her slowly deteriorating house. I had walked by there many times, trying to find a way inside while she was away. But she never left. Her groceries were delivered, her mail spilled from her box, and she simply existed inside her crumbling tomb. I saw what Becky was after and refused to tell her where she could find my tape. Becky, it seemed, was more resourceful than I had thought, though. About a week ago, Mum got a call that Grandma had died. The police told us that someone had broken into her house, probably thinking it was abandoned, and found her in her bedroom. The two had fought, and despite her age, Grandma had strangled them to death. Her heart, however, wasn't quite as strong as her hands. She had died with her fingers pressed into the flesh of her intruder. The intruder had been identified as Rebecca Smith, a resident of California who seemed to have driven 800 miles just to break into my grandmother's house. It seemed that my internet friend had finally pinpointed where my grandmother lived, and it had been the end of her. The night after the funeral, I made my move. I broke a window around back and made my way through the unfamiliar squalor. The house was a wreck. Junk and garbage piled everywhere. And when I finally found the stairs, I breathed a sigh of relief. They were sagging, the wood groaning as I walked up them, but they were still intact, and my prize was within reach. The TV was on the nightstand, its soft glow illuminating the bed where my grandmother had breathed her last. The tape sat in the murky light, like a red invitation, or a jolly splash of blood. I've been holding it, feeling its red plastic in my fingers for nearly an hour as I contemplate whether or not to slide it in. It's no question whether I will or not. I have missed Mr. Harzow desperately for the last 12 years, but I wanted to take down this story before I give my life back to him. You may think this is his fault somehow, but I cannot blame him for what has happened. He told my grandmother on that long-ago day to reconcile with us. He never told me to hurt anyone, never told me to be unkind to anyone. And I think that's why people seek him. When Mr. Harzow speaks, you feel as though he speaks only for you. He accepts you, no matter what. And that kind of power is intoxicating. The TV accepts the tape in just that same way. And now he's smiling at me and welcoming me back as an old friend. I think I'll go speak with my old friend for a while. I think I'll go speak with him for the rest of my life.
Welcome back. I've missed you.
And just like that, the cycle begins anew. A red cassette tape passes from one pair of hands to the next, and the hunger for unconditional attention claims another soul. The narrator sits there now, probably smiling at that screen, while a dead woman's house rots around him. But here's what keeps me awake at night. Mr. Harzow never commanded any of them to do terrible things. He simply listened. He simply accepted. And that was enough to make a grandmother strangle a woman with her bare hands. So I have to ask you, if a voice from the darkness offered to truly see you, to accept every dark corner of your soul without judgment, would you have the strength to look away? Or would you too give it everything? Thank you for maintaining your connection to this archive today. Your continued access ensures these stories survive. Click the next file on your screen to continue the investigation into the things that watch us back. And remember, keep your history clear.